Welcome to my YouTube channel and the fifth of many videos where my approach is to share with you relationship advice centered around breakups in a conversational manner as if I am there with you. Relationships, especially the time following a breakup, is one of the worst things we can go through in life. But I am here. You're not alone. We broke up because of relationship baggage. I don't like this word, baggage. It presupposes that there is something wrong with your ex and that you're shifting the blame onto them. Immediately following a breakup, it's easy to blame your ex, especially if they were the one that decided to break up with you. It's easy to play victim. Instead, during a breakup, when you're reflecting on why the relationship ended, I want you to instead focus on what you felt you did wrong or what you felt contributed to the relationship ending, and then work on it. For this video, I'd like to share a personal story. And, please note that my ex and I have since reconciled and we're on good terms. But ultimately, we decided to move on with our lives. So this took place several years ago. I came out of a 5-year long-term relationship. And I was at the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I weighed about 240 pounds. So ultimately, the relationship was very toxic. It became very toxic. And she ended things with me. And at the time, I felt many things, lots of pain. But ultimately, when the breakup conversation happened, we were still living together. I just took all of my things and I put it in my car and I just drove out. And she was crying and she was asking me, "Where are you going? What are you going to do?" And I knew that she was feeling bad. But I just told her, "Don't worry about it. I'm no longer in your life. You made the decision to leave." And I called up a close friend and I explained the situation. I said, "Hey, if you're okay with it, let me crash at your place for a week while I figure things out." And fortunately, I have really good family and friends who supported me through one of my darkest times. And during this time, immediately following my breakup, I went right into no contact. I deleted her number. I took myself off of social media. I knew that I missed her so much, even though I knew that our relationship was so toxic and it wasn't something that I really wanted to go back to. And I realized that at that point in time, I missed the thought of her. I didn't necessarily miss my ex. And so the first thing I did was I started dieting. I called it my quote unquote depression diet because, following a breakup, you're the most motivated in achieving things, especially if it's centered around the idea of winning your ex back. And so that's what I did. I dieted. I started becoming extremely active. I was working out 5 days a week. I also put myself into therapy because I was frustrated, I was anxious, and I didn't want to burden my family and my friends by constantly talking about my ex. And so instead, I paid someone to listen to me. And in 1 month, I lost over 30 pounds. I went from about 240 pounds to right at the cusp of 200 pounds. And I felt good. I looked good. And man, I remember how agile I felt again. And guess what? About a month and a half later, my ex reached out. It was just a feeler, and she was like, "Hey," and I took my time and I responded back. I said, "Hey." Initiated reconciliation, and we met up. And her reaction, it was still something that kind of stuck with me. She just said, "Wow, you look good." And I said, "Thank you." And then the conversation shifted. It became a little bit negative, and she started jabbing me because she had every right to. In the 5-year relationship that we were together, I wasn't necessarily acting like a man. I didn't guide the direction. I didn't date her anymore. I got extremely complacent, and it was my fault. and I gained a lot of weight. And so that's exactly what happened. She started badgering me, started questioning me. She's like, I loved you, and I put up with so much of you, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I broke things off. And I said, yeah, I understand. You don't need to explain it to me. And she's like, why are you this way now? I was hoping that by reaching out to you, I can see you for who you really are, and that I could have justified it. I was like, the reason why I ended things is because you are this way and that way, and I didn't want to be attracted to you anymore. But seeing you today, I'm attracted to you. You reminded me of the person that I fell in love with, and I hate that. Why couldn't you have been this person now in front of me while we were in the relationship? And I just responded by saying that, unfortunately, that's a very, very selfish way of seeing things. And that immediately following our breakup, I didn't blame her. I never once blamed her for the relationship ending. Instead, I looked inwards. I asked myself these difficult questions, such as, why was I this way? Why did I become toxic? Why did I resort to food? How did things get this way? At what point in the relationship did I give up? What do I regret doing? What can I work on? I looked inwards, and it was painful, guys. Very, very painful. And I told myself that if I had the opportunity to work things out again with my ex, I want to show her the best version of me. And if not, if I don't get her back, then I can share these amazing qualities that I've fine-tuned and polished with someone new. And so it just so happens that she reached back out to me, and I was able to showcase that to her. And I told her that, I'm not living a life for you. I'm living a life for myself. I want you to be happy. And I want to be with you still. We have a history together, but I didn't do this for you. I did this for me. And so what I want you guys to take away from this story is that I am a little bit petty. And I personally think that the best revenge is one served cold. And in this case, if you really want to make your ex regret leaving you, become indifferent, become successful, and live a fulfilling life that no longer involves them. When you're around your ex, being indifferent and not being tied to an outcome or any type of situation shows strength. It shows that you've moved on. And in my case, I was able to flourish because of the very, very big, quote unquote, negative, the breakup. I was able to better my life. I got my finances in check. I lost a substantial amount of weight. I look good. I feel good. I'm active again. I feel healthy. I love myself. And I started doing things I've never done before, like, snowboarding, traveling a lot more. All of these things that was no longer centered around my ex, and I felt like I was living an amazing life. And that I wanted to find someone new to share that happiness with. And I learned for myself that in a relationship, especially a healthy one, there are compromises. But ultimately, you want someone that you can include into your life, as opposed to someone whom you change your life for. And my relationship, it ended. And I'm grateful for the fact that it ended. Not every relationship is meant to go back. It's not meant for you to go back. But it's meant for you to learn from it. And so, tying this back in with baggage. Everyone has baggage. And I was so obsessed with this idea of finding a unicorn, finding the perfect person with all of these amazing qualities and attributes. But in reality, everyone has baggage. And you accept it or you don't. You develop boundaries, you work on yourself, you find out what you're willing to work with, what you're willing to compromise, what you're willing to accept. And if there are qualities in a future potential partner that you don't like or you don't agree with, communicate that with them. And if they don't agree, if there's no reconciliation, then you move on with your life. You don't change someone and try to force them to stay with you or stay in the relationship or make things work. You either compromise and you communicate, or you don't. And so when you broke up because of baggage, whatever it may be, it sounds like you're shifting the blame onto your partner, but what really, everyone has baggage. And it's okay. It's okay to have baggage because we're not perfect. We're all human beings. We are different. We each have our own personality, our own desires, goals, values in life. And just because it doesn't work out with this person doesn't mean that it won't work out with the next. And so while you are in no contact and you're in this breakup, I want you to work on yourself. Instead of shifting the blame onto them, look inwards and find what it is that you wish that you could work upon. And I know that it's challenging and it's tough, but I promise you that everything will be okay. And then remember, you're not alone. Everything will be okay. And there are many people out there, including me, that have gone through what you've gone through. And everything will work out in the end. I promise.